Emma Raducanu, one of Britain's brightest sporting stars, stood on a Dubai tennis court earlier this year, not just fighting an opponent across the net but facing an invisible battle few could see. It was not a rival in the rankings or the pressure of performance, it was fear. A fear born not from the speed of a serve, but from the eyes of a man in the crowd who had crossed every line of personal space and safety. That fear had a face. A man whose actions began innocuously enough, first seen in the crowd at Singapore, then again in Abu Dhabi, and again in Doha. Each time, he wasn't just a fan. He wasn't holding banners or cheering from the sidelines. He was always there, watching. Tracking her steps like a shadow she couldn't escape. And then, it escalated. On the eve of her second-round match in Dubai, he approached her in the vicinity of the Player Hotel. There was no crowd around. Just him. A letter in his hand. A phone to snap a photo. A forced interaction that pierced the veil of normality and safety. Emma, just 22, still navigating the intense spotlight of global fame, did what anyone might do, she told a member of her team. But that concern, tragically, wasn't escalated in time. The Women's Tennis Association and tournament organizers only found out after it was too late. On match day, 2 games into a difficult battle against Karolina Muchova, Emma's eyes scanned the crowd. There he was. The same man who'd followed her across continents, now seated just meters away. Her heart pounded. The match was no longer about tennis, it was about survival. She hid behind the umpire's chair, overcome with emotion. She couldn't breathe. Tears blurred her vision. The fear was visceral. I literally couldn't see the ball, she said later. I could barely breathe. Security intervened. The man, whose behavior was described as fixated, was removed from the stands and detained by local police. Authorities in Dubai took it seriously. A restraining order was issued. His name was circulated across tennis security networks globally. You would think that would be the end of it. But now, as Wimbledon draws near, a pinnacle event in the sport and one that Emma has dreamed of since childhood, this same man has emerged once again. According to BBC Sport, the individual recently attempted to gain entry to the Wimbledon Championships by applying for tickets through the public ballot. But this time, the system worked. The All England Club's security systems, bolstered by data sharing with global tennis authorities, red-flagged his name. The application was denied. He won't be getting anywhere near center court, let alone Emma. It's a small victory in a larger war, one that every public figure, particularly women in sports, are forced to fight. The fight for personal space. For emotional safety. For the right to compete, travel, live, without fearing that someone might be watching too closely, following too persistently, and crossing lines that should never be crossed. Raducanu's experience isn't just a disturbing footnote in a career filled with highlights and triumphs. It's a painful reminder of the very real vulnerabilities faced by athletes, no matter how strong they appear under the lights. Tennis players don't compete behind walls or glass. They aren't protected by stadium tunnels or bodyguards on the court. They are visible, accessible, sometimes dangerously so. And for every cheer they receive, there's always a risk of someone weaponizing that access. For Emma, the scars may not be physical, but they are real. The psychological impact of being stalked, approached, followed, is not something that disappears with a restraining order. Fear lingers. It hides in airport lounges, in hotel lobbies, in unfamiliar faces in the crowd. It takes trust away. It robs joy from the game. And yet, through all of it, Raducanu continues. She trains. She travels. She plays. She performs. She competes at the highest levels of her sport while carrying the invisible weight of trauma. That takes a different kind of strength, one no ranking can measure. The tennis world has learned from this. WTA officials, tournament organizers, and security professionals are being urged to tighten protocols. Communication between players and officials must be swift, responsive, and proactive. Every report must be treated with urgency. Athletes must be believed. They must be protected. Because their job is not to be security experts. It's to play, to perform, to inspire. But the system must meet them halfway. Fans, too, must recognize boundaries. Admiration must never become obsession. A photo request is only acceptable when freely offered. A letter is only welcome when sent through appropriate channels. The line between support and stalking is razor thin, and crossing it is not only dangerous, it's criminal. Raducanu, through no fault of her own, has been made an example of this harsh reality. But she's also become a beacon. By speaking out, by sharing the emotional toll, by not hiding behind PR gloss, she has reminded us all that behind every athlete is a human being. One who breathes, who feels, who fears. The fact that this man tried to insert himself into her space even after international intervention, speaks volumes about the persistence of obsession. But the fact that he was stopped speaks louder. This time, the system worked. This time, Raducanu will step onto the grass of Wimbledon with a little more peace of mind. But the conversation must continue. Her story should prompt every governing body across sports to reevaluate their response mechanisms. Not just tennis, but every global tour and league. From football to athletics to esports, athletes deserve security that evolves with their fame. Emma Raducanu's courage didn't come with a trophy. It came through trembling hands, blurry vision, and the strength to finish